Annual presentation by Hilltop Golf Course. This is AMV Ventures, Inc. They are our managers of the golf course. We have Tony Mosconi here tonight, and Tony, if you could come up and introduce your team and tell us, tell us what they do at the course, because I know we see a lot of names come across our emails, but we don't always know what everybody does. And hopefully your microphone is working up there.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello. You may want to either pick it up or
pull it closer to you.
Just get to it as close as you can.
Hi, as Kurt said, my name is Tony Mosconi. We own AMV Hilltop Golf Management. I have Doug Palm, our golf course superintendent here today, and I have Jim Gorney, our golf course, as he likes to call himself, COO of all of our golf courses. Because not only do we have Hilltop under management, we also own Cattails, and we just picked up another course out in Howell called Hunter's Ridge to manage. So we're moving along here as a company. Glasses on.
Sorry, Tony, I lost my spot here.
No, I think we're good.
I haven't started yet.
Oh, sorry.
I would just lean into the microphone more.
Are you finished?
No, he's not.
As far as the 2020, so I'll do a brief recap on the 2022 season, and we'll get into some overview of the financial numbers, and then we'll end up with 2023 and some thoughts we have on the golf course. Looking back on 2022, almost the same as 2021. We started off with a wet launch to the season, but we did finish strong. I think we went all the way into December as far as being open for golf, maybe even to the first week of December. As with most of the country, and specifically here in the Tri-County area, hybrid work has been a big boost for golf. As a result, you'll see further in the presentation, we saw an increase in rounds played, and move into 2023. We believe with weather permitting, our growth trend can continue. And I'll mention it again, but the past 2 years, since 2020, 2021, both times I've come in here and budgeted a decrease in revenue, and it hasn't occurred. So this year, I'm budgeting an increase. So we'll see what happens. Overall, general staff hiring has improved. I think when we talked last year, it was tough. It's gotten better, but we're still having troubles for us, it's the skill positions of cooks and mechanic. Doug did a great job with his crew, utilizing the golf course equipment that we did have on site and scheduling repairs with minimal equipment tech options. So really trying to work with what we have. If something broke down, try to utilize the other equipment while that one was getting fixed. But this year, that is our number one priority, is trying to get a mechanic for Hilltop and for Cattails together. So we're still pushing hard, working hard. We're meeting tomorrow as a team to discuss some other options. But right now, we've increased the wage, we've offered bonuses, and we just can't get a grip on a mechanic, a small engine mechanic. Is that the right term, Doug? Something like that. Yeah. In 2022, with the support of the township, we were allowed to continue to launch our goals of improving and updating the golf course from multiple fronts. We had the new golf carts. We replaced the carpet in the clubhouse. We did a new entrance railing as you walked on the east side of the clubhouse with a ramp. We replaced some damaged siding that a storm had brought down on the south side, the front of the clubhouse, and we improved the attic. There's an access to the attic that was really a little bit Amityville-like, that is all repaired and up to snuff. As we continue to try to make with all the trees on the property, we always are looking at safety as the number one look on the golf course. So Doug and his crew, the trees, what trees are dangerous, what trees are dying, what trees need to get removed. So that is our number one focus. Along with tee boxes, trying to do some things on the golf course, getting the tee boxes back to what they were or what they should be. And then also with the game changing every year, folks are hitting it further. There's more and more people playing now, so we're alternating or updating some tees in order to make make Hilltop a little bit more playable. Specifically here, as you look into 2022, we improved the sight lines on many of the holes. So the sight lines might be that if a ball lands on the fairway, there might have been a tree or a limb in the way. We remove that limb. If the tree was damaged and or dying, remove the tree. On the tee boxes, some of the tee boxes you couldn't get a full swing in because the growth was coming over. So we removed the growth in order to be able to utilize the entire tee box as it should be. And you can see the specific holes that Doug did some tree work. I'm sure he did tree work amongst the entire golf course, but pointedly in here it's 6, 7, 16, and 18. We started addressing, or not started, but really got into removing the underbrush, especially between 7 and 18. And then with all the tree work that we've been doing now, so last year was our 4th year, we started grinding down stumps. So we have a third party come in and grind down stumps for us. I forgot how many we did last year. 30. We're probably going to do more this year.
Have you used our chipper at all?
We haven't used it on site yet. We have it scheduled for this year to come in. We're piling. We've hauled brush away in the past. Now we're piling it and shipping it.
Okay.
So you've never used the equipment?
We haven't used that chipper yet, no. Should I come up there? There's some functional things. It's a very heavy chipper. It can only go out on the golf course at certain times because of the equipment needed to pull it. So we haven't been able to schedule everything. And we had labor shortage yet last year, which really hurt us trying to get that.
Well, you can use it if you consolidate the branches in a hard surface area and chip them instead of having them hauled away.
Exactly.
So last year you had them hauled away.
We had some of the brush piles hauled away, both existing from previous companies as well as some of the stuff that we have generated.
Okay.
All right. Also, Doug just addressed the last 2 points here about consolidating debris and removing debris. And then we worked on tees on holes 3 and 11. Getting to the financial part here, I also have some previous from when we first started in 2019, but you can see the rounds played, 21,518. Our average now is $32.29. If I look back on my report back in 2020 and the 2019 season, our average round per person was $23.60. So
Is that across 9 and 18?
That's not-
They're all considered a round
Yeah,
regardless?
Bob, I was just simply looking at our golf and greens fees, which is golf, cart, and greens fees, whether it's 9 or 18, and just multiplied or just divided it out by the rounds.
So that includes the cart.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Pretty good deal.
So if you look at it, yeah, we started out at $23.60. I don't even want to go further back because it was $16 and something cents, but now it's up to $32.99. Another thing, if you look at, and I'll skip down to our 2022 overall revenue, you can see last year we did $1,025,000. Our first year, when we came into it, our gross was $525,000. So we've basically doubled the gross revenue in 4 years. So this year, we're able to generate that net income. I rounded it up to 141, but I think it was $140,500, I believe. So if you look at 2023, what we did is we looked at the budget. We came up with $1,064,000. The way we've done budget, we've done it at Cattails for 30 years. And we've done it here for 4 years. Is look at the previous year and then just try to forecast going forward. Of course, with inflation, that's one way to look at it. Of course, we're trying to get a little bit more staff. But then one of the things that we did is we looked at our season passes. We had sold a tremendous amount of season passes, but on the other hand, those folks played a tremendous amount of rounds that were included. So we've adjusted the season passes. We've basically doubled the price of the season pass in order just to try to right size that whole thing a little
How
bit.
much does it cost?
$17.50 for unlimited.
Unlimited?
Yes.
Once a day you could play? Or you could
the
keep
issue.
playing?
They were playing.
I mean,
Yeah.
if it's available, they would, I'm sure there's a couple people that play more than one time a day.
Right.
You said $1,700
$1,750.
for a season pass?
How many of those do you sell?
Last year we sold about 60, but last year we sold them for about $1,000.
And how long is the season? How does-
From this, when we're open
Whenever
to
they're open.
close.
They're open, you guys are open right now, right?
We're open right now, but what we did is we put an expiration on it. Was it October 31st now? Going from-
April 1 through October 31st.
Yeah. Lessons learned. So we're forecasting a little bit more of an operating income next year of $160,000. And that includes, in the budget, hiring a mechanic. There'll be a little bit of a price increase. As I said, adjusting the season passes. So that's all worked into the budget. So we'll see how it goes here. And as you pointed out, we sort of started, or Jim too, very excited that we started here in February. So we got a little head start going on. So we'll see what happens.
May I ask what the changes for the cost of goods sold, why it's a decrease in 2023 23 from the previous year?
We were able to buy, a lot of it was shop merchandise. We prepaid because of what happened. I got to go back in the memory and help me, Jim, here, but the shop, because the year before that, so in 2021, there was a lot of shortages. So with that concern in mind, we pre-bought a lot of stuff for 2022. So you'll see in this year, as you can see in cost of goods sold, it's come down because we don't have to purchase as much because we already did for 2022.
You have inventory?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So some things here for 2023. If the hybrid work environment remains and the predicted recession is soft to short, we believe we can continue to grow the top line via leagues and outings in 2023. We just met with this company called Tag Marshall for the GPS, and I think we're going to do that. After the golf show, there was a huge national golf show down in Orlando. They've come up with a deal where they'll reduce the price of the annual cost almost in half if we give them the opportunity to sell advertising. So we're going to go ahead and do that. With the GPS, we've also discovered, we were talking to another municipal golf course in Oakland County, and they have the same system. They almost shaved off about 45 minutes off their average round,
Really?
which would be huge for us, yeah. So you're able to play faster, which makes everybody happier. You're able to reallocate some of your expenses, so you may not have to have as many starters on the golf course, which there are other benefits to that, but you pull some folks back in, you can have some better starters. And then on top of that, you'll have the benefit of hopefully when they come around the turn, ordering food or beverage, and they come inside, pick up the food and beverage, and continue on.
Why does it shave so much time off?
Yeah, that was our golf pro Mark call, so I didn't ask that question, Bob, but it was Fieldstone up in Auburn Hills. They're able to do that. They've had the system for 3 years. It was brand new 3 years ago. They said it was a little bit of a roller coaster ride that year 1, but year 2 and 3 has been nothing but smooth. They love it. In fact, they got the new updated version coming up here for 2023.
So people were getting lost on the golf course and taking more time?
No, I hate to say it, Chuck, it's accountability. What it comes down to, realizing that you got another 150 people behind you. You know, trust me, I love having a couple drinks in the golf course and talking, as I get teased being played deliberately. I get it, but you have to be respectful of the other people on the golf course. So what happens is when you walk into the pro shop and you'll see it at Hilltop, there's a huge 50, I want to make it 70-inch TV that has the golf course laid out, and you see all the carts, and it's all real time. The carts are different colors and stuff. So I think, for instance, what happens at Fieldstone, I think that plays in people's minds. They walk in, you're accountable, you see what's going on, you can send messages, hey, please pick up the pace, you're 2 groups behind, 2 holes behind. There's a lot of ways to do things from a central location in the pro shop versus sending a ranger out to check what's going on. And it's just the old way is inefficient, man. This is much more efficient.
One of the things at Hilltop that used to make it slower play was the number of walkers. And what proportion of people walk, do you think?
Very little.
Not anymore? That used to be terrible. I mean, it'd be backed up because of the number of walkers.
So no good exercise, getting exercise is not considered desirable.
They get a lot of this exercise.
Whatever your
Walk around the
definition of
passive park. We have a
exercise
passive park now. Just, you know, they can go over at the passive park after or before and walk over there. So we are going to do that. We just had our final conference with them, actually, so we're going to pull the trigger on here the next couple of days.
What's that going to cost?
We'll go through that.
Okay.
I have those items listed, Kurt, and we'll get you the actual invoice here. We'll send it over to, you, Bob, Jerry.
Take a look.
I think it was originally about $28,000 a year for the first 3 years, and then you own the system, and then it's about $2,500 a year for the maintenance, the software updates, all that good stuff. But they have this new program that shaves about 50% off if we give them the rights to the advertising, which that's what I would suggest to do, give them the rights to the advertising, take that money off. Because it's one way or the other. Either you're going to try to make that money on the sales of the advertising, or you're going to save that in the effort not to have to sell the advertising.
We would just need to, because this is a public golf course, we would have to have some say on the advertising. We don't want it to be
Yeah.
offensive.
We'll build that in.
Yeah.
They're a national company, so I'm assuming it's going to be like Titleist, Callaway. They're going to have some national stuff, but they reserve 3 holes for us locally, right? So we'll be able to dictate 3 holes locally here.
We just want to make sure it's not,
Concept.
Yeah, sure.
offensive.
Right.
So local companies could advertise on there, like a restaurant?
Yeah, yeah. And I think what they do, Chuck, is 3 slides per hole, 3 to 4 slides per hole. So as you tee off, you get in your cart, and as you pull away, one slide will pop up, and then it'll go away, and then you get to your ball, another one probably pops up, you get to the green. That's how they work it. So these are the things that we sort of laid out over here the next couple weeks. With being open late into the season, we just really haven't had the time to do that, but we're going to address it here. I was speaking with Doug and Jim here the next couple weeks. So for instance, the cart path, trying to be able to get out and play after or during a rain, but more importantly, after a rain, as Doug pointed out. There are cart paths out there, they're just not connected. And the front 9 or the back 9, one of them is easier to connect to cart paths. The front 9's easier, so that'll probably be the first one we'll look at. So we just have to measure it out and get a couple quotes, and then we'll bring that out. As you can see, the tree work, once again, just try to make the golf course a little bit safer. Probably every spring here going forward, you're always going to have to look at, there's just so many trees out there. So right now, we're looking at holes 1, 2. As you see, I have them listed out here all the way through 18. We're trying to do the proper pruning, as Doug has done from the very beginning, raising, we're pruning up, as he calls it, pruning up the trees so you can find your ball underneath and hit it.
Will you avoid trimming oak trees in the warm weather to avoid oak wilt?
Yes.
That's between about April 1 to November 1, you should not be trimming them.
Correct. You're right, yeah, we are very cognizant of oak wilt, because there are a number of pin oaks and other red oaks out there on the golf course.
That's the kind of stuff, Chuck, that we'll try to do here in the wintertime when the ground's frozen and he can take his vehicles out and not do as much damage. That's the kind of time is to do it now. So we'll get some quotes over. Drains, looking at holes 6 and 13 and 17. If they can be repaired economically, we'll repair them. If not, they might have to be replaced. We're going to add tee box work to 4, 12, and 18. It's leveling the tee boxes, maybe adding some space where it's available without doing too much work to it. If you make the tees a little bit bigger, with the amount of play the course is getting more and more, it'll reduce the wear and tear in the tees, so we can move the tees around. We are trying to address, so the golf course had a reputation of fast greens 20, 25 years ago, and we've heard it a lot. So we're thinking about addressing for the greens, maybe 2 this year and maybe 2 in the fall or next year. We're discussing it with Doug right now, 4 and 6. We don't think we have to put a temporary green, correct? It's just adding, going back to what the tee complexes were probably 20 or 30 years ago, and over time, not being mowed properly, they've just shrunk. So it's just a matter of going back and seeing how we sort of capture the green back and make the greens a little bit bigger.
4 is fast because it's like this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. But there's some space behind it, right, Doug, that we can make that a little bit
Both
bigger?
behind and in front, and it needs to be expanded out.
Okay.
There'll be more locations. We're not gonna do anything with the middle of that green.
Okay.
Which is really very steep, as you said.
Right.
But we wanna just expand the areas.
Okay.
One of the things is I've been telling Jim over the years to try to get a heads up on is trying to find different revenue streams for the golf course. We've done very good, as you can tell by the average per round, of increasing that mainly on golf and cart. But at some point, I really like to try to get a different revenue stream, and I'm leading to a patio or something outside so folks can show up that are not necessarily going to play a round of golf. If we, along with adding the patio or doing something there on the west side of the clubhouse towards Beck Road, it'd be nice to take that putting green and make it really large. It's a thing going on right now with country clubs, with more courses, making these practice putting greens very large, actually putting like 9 holes on the putting green so you can have a pseudo putt-putt on natural grass. I see it as a patio with the big patio lights, having a glass of wine or a beer, whether your kids are putting on the green while you're enjoying yourself, some soft music playing. And that's what I think could be something that could be a potential to really grow revenue outside of golf and cart. So we got 1 quote through the township last year, but I think we definitely need to get at least 2 or 3 more with the cost of construction, how things have changed. We're probably going to get a few more, so don't be surprised.
I think St. John's Resort now has an 18-hole putting green. They've they've changed everything around in that area of the course to create that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Kurt. Ours wouldn't be probably as extravagant as theirs,
Yes.
but it'd be a putting green with maybe 9 holes on it. Doug could move the holes around, and we just put a number on the holes kind of
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
And would there be a charge to putt? No?
No.
But they'd be
It's more
selling
just
beer and
a-
wine
But
and,
Yeah,
hopefully,
a
hopefully
passive
somebody
income of
grabbing an appetizer and a
beer
drink and just hanging out,
appetizers.
yeah.
that's
So it's
good.
very successful at the Jockey Club up on Mackinac Island at the Grand Hotel. Where you sit out, you can have a meal, you can have drinks, and you see tons of kids. Ours used to do that too. And they provided them, with, the means to do it, and they just love it.
Yeah.
And then the parents can enjoy a drink without having to worry about where the children are.
Right,
They
exactly.
get their golf clubs and, whack away. It's kind
Right.
of cool.
And it's such a large space there. We have the tent that we use for outings, but it's nothing. There's a lot of space out there. So don't be surprised if I start angling towards that kind of stuff and start bringing it up. I just think we need to start thinking ahead that at some point we'll reach a ceiling unless we want to invest more money in the golf course and do some different things on the golf course. We're going to have to find different ways of generating different kinds of revenue there in that property.
Do you have a beverage cart that goes out?
We do.
Yeah, okay.
We do. We have one that's, we'll call it a regular full-time beverage cart, and then do we, like at Cattails, we have a backup. We have a backup for large groups. Yep.
So the building itself, the clubhouse, are those just the major changes? I mean, what's the condition of, it's been a while since I've been in there, so what else would be on your wish list? Like a kitchen, bathrooms, anything like that?
Bathrooms at some point, Kurt, really the things are going to be, we're going to come back to, with like an equipment, as we've done at the golf course this past year at Cattails. We bought used equipment, we'll call it first term turned in. They were 4 years old.
I think he's talking clubhouse right now.
No, I know, I'm bypassing that. So we will address the clubhouse, but I think the stuff on the golf course for equipment we'd like to do, along with the clubhouse. The clubhouse, the upstairs, as I said, was pretty dangerous. That's been solidified. The bathrooms in the clubhouse are an issue. In the men's room, you have one urinal
Like
and
Mitchell
one
did
toilet.
those, remember?
You're gonna have to do something there at some point. On a bigger scale someday, where that clubhouse is positioned and where the carts are stored, like we talked about, I think over the wintertime, it'd be nice to have somehow to cover the cart storage, since they're relatively brand new carts. But where they are right now, it blocks the view of the ninth green. So it'd be cool if you could do something back there so you could see the ninth green and move it around, but that's bigger picture kind of stuff. The clubhouse itself, with the air conditioning that we did last year or 2 years ago and the carpet we did, from when you walk in, it actually looks fine. It's a little bit cooler and it looks good. We painted it. It looks actually pretty good. As we get more into the patio, if we have to add some stuff into the kitchen, some equipment, that's something that would probably have to be considered.
What is Plymouth Township's obligation for capital improvements in 2023?
Well, I think what we've done, Chuck, is we've done whatever check we've given as a dividend, from our standpoint, we'd like to see you use that check back on the golf course in some form or fashion.
So how much is that?
$70,000, I think it was.
All of it? So I didn't think we ever agreed that you would be 100% of the dividend. I don't think we ever agreed to
I'm
that.
asking for 100%. We'll use it, and it'll be on township property.
And then we need to, well, when you're done, we can talk some more. Or are you done?
That's it. That's it right there. I'm done.
So Bob, I have a couple questions, maybe for the golf operating company. The $75,000 operating fee, is that in your expenses?
No.
Is the lease fee for the golf carts in your expenses?
No.
Bob, do you know how much that is, the annual lease fee for golf carts? I have no idea.
It's one thing, just so you know, it's not a lease. It's a purchase, so it's
Yeah,
a
we
capital
bought
item.
them.
It's in the assets and it's in the balance sheet.
I don't have that in front of
We
me.
bought those with cash? I thought we had a lease.
It's a lease.
it's at least with buying.
Right. Thank you,
Okay,
Jerry.
so
Yeah.
we have an annual
Yes.
or a monthly payment.
Aren't those part of one of the bonds, one of the debt service?
No,
No,
this
that
is
was,
new. That
this
was the
is
old
new.
one.
That was long ago.
This is the new ones it's a lease.
I don't know, I'd have to go look that up.
It's a lease.
It's a lease.
It's a lease.
It's a lease, but at the end of the lease, we own them, or we can turn them back in.
You can buy it outright.
We plan on turning them back in, I think that was the original intent.
Yeah.
Yeah, initially, but then it'll depend on their condition and
Value.
the value, the interest rates at that time, because the lease is capitalized based on a interest rate.
Well, because it's a buyout, you can put it on the balance sheet, so that's why whatever account, that's how they did it. But to your point, Chuck, you're correct, especially in gas carts. Gas carts, electric carts last 4 to 5 years because you got to replace the batteries, and it's a significant dollar amount. Gas carts could go 5 or 10 years as long as they're in good shape. So that's why this year we covered all the carts. We got individual covers for every cart to try to keep them out of the elements. We're trying to do what we can to try to keep those carts going for as long as.
Well, is it worth renting storage space off-site for the winter? We may want to think about that, I don't know, to make them more secure from theft, vandalism, and, they're snickering, so it's too much work?
No, it's the trailering them.
Well, that's what I mean by work. Trailering is work.
Yeah, that's going to be an effort to do that. And I think we measured it at about 3,000 square feet, 4,000 square feet. So whatever rate you're getting at, the market rate's probably $5 or $6 plus triple net. So that's going to add about $30,000 to the expenses. Yeah. And then if you look at, Chuck, it might be worth it just to get a fabric to cover where the carts are, build an aluminum truss system, which is not uncommon. It might be worth just to doing that. It might be a 1-year payback.
Well, you can buy those. The company Shelter Logic
Yeah.
sells some heavy-duty versions of that.
Yeah, you see them on farms all over the place. That's
Yeah.
what a lot of farmers do.
So what I'm getting at is from a fully accounted basis, we need to probably look at this and have, just to be sure, especially if you're looking for $70,000, we need to look at what the total cost of this operation is. My judgment is it's a loss when you put it all in, but we need to look at the numbers.
You gotta spend money to make money, Chuck. That's how they do it in the private sector.
But no,
And we all know what
Yeah.
you're getting at, okay?
but no, I'm getting
We made
at the truth.
$70,315 this year. I just got the check yesterday.
75 cents.
Pardon? You got what?
We just got a check yesterday for $70,315.75.
Right, but my point is, we had we have other costs, so
Yeah.
in order to analyze the whole situation, we need to understand how much we're actually spending, because this is not the true 100% picture.
Now, I would
It's not
take it-
fully accounted.
I would take it one
The
step-
true picture is that the value that you're increasing in your asset as we're going along here. You have to add that into it, Chuck.
But we're not gonna sell it.
No, but is the asset increasing? Yes, it is.
Well, the land is what's
And
increasing.
then that increases the value of the product that we're selling to the public, which we went from $22 to $32. So you're adding value to an asset that you own. And so you have to include that too.
Yeah, I'm just looking at
I know
the
what you're.
P and L, that's
Yeah.
all. Just the P and L
Reasonable.
on a fully accounted basis.
I'm just not sure.
I just
all
wish
the
those
details.
questions were asked when Ron Edwards was running the show and we were losing $150,000.
Ron Edwards is long dead. I just
Yeah,
wanna
but
know
we
what we're
lost
doing.
Tons of money on this golf course and we turned that around in 3 years.
But doesn't matter today.
So-
I just want to understand if we're going to spend
I
all,
I think it's a fair ask. I just don't, I'm just thinking, I'm not sure where all that, how we would collect all that data, what the pieces are.
I think the thing to keep in mind also is when you're comparing it, you should really compare it to real costs. You're going to need a PGA pro, you're going to need a manager. I'm not sure how much of a difference it's going to be at the end of the day. It's not like you get rid of us and the course just keeps on.
I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about getting some data so
Yeah.
that you can see more of the picture. It's better to go into something with wide open eyes, knowing what you're doing, that it may not be as lucrative as it looks. And we appreciate everything you're doing. So we need to be careful about $70,000 versus, I think last year was 25 is what we invested. You're shaking your head. What's
So
the number?
we made 80,
was 80,000 last year.
89,000
No,
last
how much did we invest in capital last year?
Oh, I don't remember.
or whatever, we probably spent more, all of our
I got to tell you,
profit
keep in
from
mind,
last year.
that's how the course got in the shape it got into.
Yeah.
You know, I equate it to it, and we did the same thing in 2008-9 cattails when the world was ending. To me, it's like a press in a manufacturing company. You can run it without oil for so long before it breaks down. and then you got to replace the press. And we were running into that at Cattails. We had to put money into it, even though we were losing. And the same thing at Hilltop. I mean, those trees and the grounds and the green shrinking and all that, that just comes from time from neglect. You know, at some point, you got to reinvest.
Well, we just renewed your contract through 2027, so hopefully that will help you guys attract and retain employees,
Yeah,
because
that-
that's certainly a challenge that we all face in government nowadays. So at least you'll have these guys can have some hope that they'll have a steady job for a while.
If you can't find a mechanic, are you going to be hauling the equipment to a repair station?
What we've been doing is a couple things. We're probably going to address it this year and have a third-party company come out, Chuck, and look at the equipment. We're doing the same thing at Cattails. The reels themselves, we might send out to get sharpened, but, you know, God bless Doug, it'll just be Doug or Jake, somebody running them out to get sharpened and running them back.
So you're going to use a mobile mechanic if you can't find your own, like they do on the farm?
Possibly.
Where you have them come out and repair your tractor?
Or we'll trailer it. If it's something that's large and has to be trailered out, we'll trailer, you know, whatever the piece is. So if they can fix it here in-house, we'll do it that way, but if not, we'll just have to send it out.
All right, you going to be operating cattails for this season?
Yes. Yep.
So has it been sold?
It's in the process, so we've been, I think we're in our third meeting now with the township and with the board, with the planning commission, so we're going through the process. Our next meeting is coming up in May.
Residential?
Yeah. For now, unless I win the lottery or something happens, yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Tony?
Wonderful.
All set?
I just had one
Yeah.
question. because I was gonna ask my son about the mechanic position for, if he knows anyone.
Good. Thank you.
Is it a 40-hour week, or what is it? What are we looking at?
You know, beggars can't be, you know, choosers. It could go as much as 10 months, 40 hours a week. It
Okay.
could go a year round. What do you have the job posted at, Doug, right now? 60?
I have the job posted at 35 an hour.
Wow.
For a turf mechanic. Our issue, we have people who can fix the motors of machines or who can repair some of the basic parts. Our issues are with the sharpening of, we use reels which are spinning rather than like your lawnmower, which is a rotary. So it requires a little bit more expertise to do that. And that's where that's the person we're struggling to get. And that's the machines we most often have to send out, are those that need that sharpening.
Is that a mower you're talking?
Yes,
Mower,
I'm
okay,
sorry.
okay.
So the reel cannot be removed from the machine and taken?
Yes, it can, and you can send that machine out.
No, not the machine, though. I'm just saying the reel. Take the reel, and can you move that? Can you send that out?
Yes. And what we have done in the past, Hilltop doesn't have the equipment to sharpen the mowers, but Cattails does. So we have, when we had a mechanic who had the ability to run the sharpening equipment, we would take the reels over, sharpen them, bring them back, and install them back on the machines. Many of the equipment companies do that service, but not during the season. They do it in the winter, this time of year, and do it one time. And these mowers, especially like a greens mower, requires a more constant adjustment. So that's the person we're looking for.
Hopefully, we're not gonna spend all night.
Is the person who can do that real adjustment. And across the industry, it's been hard to find that person. There's 6 jobs posted in the state looking for the same person that I'm looking for. And I'm with them or above some of them as far as pay. But yeah.
But for wages, we're really flexible. It could be a 40-hour work week. If they want overtime, it could be a 45, 50-hour work week. So we're willing to look at whatever, if any kind of connections, 100%, we look at it.
Sure. This is somewhat specialized, now I understand.
Yeah, it's a combination.
It's just not engine and hydraulic work.
Right.
It's someone who understands a reel mower.
Right.
When I say reel, as in R-E-E-L.
Right.
It goes like this.
Yes.
Right.
Remember when you used to mow the lawn
Yeah.
with a reel mower like that?
Yeah.
And
Is that sort of like a weed whacker type
No.
thing where the?
No.
Okay.
It's like Chuck saying the old school mowers when you have the kids out and you're pushing the mower and the grass is sort of coming out because
Yeah.
the reels, that's what it is, but it's hydraulic, it's driven by a motor versus a teenager pushing it kind of stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
couldn't they be trained like on the job? Or they have to come already fully
They can,
trained?
but
Heavy license.
right now, we don't have that person to train them. I'm not as experienced on that part of golf course maintenance as I am with everything else. That's my weak point, to be frank with you. So I can't necessarily train them. We can send a person to school. Oh, thank you. We can send a person to school over the winter. There are other schools. Most of the time, these people are, I mean, they're trained by other people who know how to do this.
Don't they have to be certified?
They do not have to be certified,
They don't.
not to work on the equipment.
18 or older. Yeah.
Okay, anybody else on the board have any more questions? Okay, you're free to go. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
being
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next is item F2, this is 2023 Board Goals Priorities List. Bob has compiled all of the data into these breathtaking spreadsheets. Can you just kind of walk us through and give us some examples of?
Yeah, so there's two charts in here. The first one is the tallies of the scores, and I'll spend just a couple of minutes on that. And the second one is a ranking based on the number of total points. So there's three kind of statistical metrics that are helpful in assessing how these scores kind of laid out. The first is, of course, the average, which is, the total of the scores divided by the number of
Board
participants. And then the median, which is a little bit helpful, but not in this small of a sample size. And then the variance, which I wanted to explain. Because what happens is if you have 7 scores and you had two of, or if you had all threes, the average would be a 3 and the median would be a 3. And the variance would be 0. Because what that would tell you is that all of the 7 board members are all in agreement, in tight alignment, that is a medium priority, right? But then on the contrary, you could have 7 scores where there's, 3 ones, 3 5s, and a 3. And in that example, you'd still have an average of 3 and a median of 3. So it's a little bit misleading because what you're seeing a broad spectrum or diversity of scores, and you're seeing not alignment in terms of
No consensus.
consensus, exactly. So the lower the variance, the tighter the scores cluster together. Anything under a 1 tends to tell you that there's high alignment among the board as to where that priority is, and anything over a 2 tends to tell you that there's not high alignment, or there's the opposite of that.
Right.
So coincidentally, the first thing on this list was the fire station, in which you had 3 people that ranked it at the lowest priority, 3 people that ranked it at the highest priority, and 1 in the middle. And it gave us a very high variance of 3.48. So in that particular issue, there's not agreement.
So something like that would be a large variance. So that's what we want to focus on, the variance number.
Yeah, I
So
think
like
that's
the
the
next, so let's go down here, this is a 0.2.
Also the rank, right?
rank and variance. So if you look at them together in the second table,
Oh,
this is rank and variance. And so the top, the number 1 ranked item was the appointing the school resource officer.
oh, we've already done that, so we're all set.
There we go.
We can go home now. We can go home now.
Which
We're done.
has a high average and a low variance, but
High average, so that's your average is the 4.86,
yeah.
and that's your variance. So now these are ranked. This is the priority ranking then, Bob?
This is a priority ranking based on the total number of points if you added up the scores across the line.
Okay.
So it's the total column, the fourth from the right is the ranking, right? Based on
Correct.
total points.
Right, which then leads into the average and the variance. So I I'd kind of focus on those. When you look at them, you kind of need to do the analysis in terms of all of those statistical metrics.
Sure.
See where they fall out.
Right.
So this page begins the actual ranking then?
It is, yeah,
And are these all, I can see these are all ranked, they're all combined, all of those different
Combined.
categories are all combined.
yeah.
And thank you for numbering them. That way, it's easy to
Yeah.
track.
So what it doesn't tell us is some of these are easy, low-hanging fruit, and some of these are major multi-year initiatives like building a fire station. But for some reason, at the very bottom, the last one was everybody seems to hate art because that was near the bottom,
What is, oh, art. Yeah.
artwork project.
Eco-friendly vehicles was the lowest.
That was the lowest.
Basketball.
But oddly enough, we are putting chargers in place.
Oops, sorry, I just scrolled it up.
Odd.
So anyway, thanks
Ducks.
for providing
Or ducks.
the data. And hopefully that you find this helpful.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
That's very helpful, thank you.
Well, let's look at the bottom rankings. The three largest competitive capital expenditures are ranked very low with a very high variance in all but one case. Smart meters, near the bottom, it's one of the lowest scores.
About
here,
10
right
from
here.
the bottom.
Show me where you're talking about.
Well, count from the last page,
Right here.
It's to infrastructure,
yeah, 2.0.
Or the last page?
2.01, 1 of 280 of 95.
Has a total score of 16, average of 3, a median of 3, and a variance of 2.57. So before we spend a lot of money, we're gonna need a lot of talk and discussion on that. I know that people think it's a done deal, but it looks like there's quite a bit of, there's no consensus on that.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, the next one, which is a huge expenditure.
I think we saw that coming anyway, so. Anyway.
Well, the next one is the fire station.
Yeah.
That's even more of a, so be careful where you're spending money. And then the last one is the payroll processing, switching from ADP, probably the benchmark company in the industry, to BS&A. We haven't seen any analysis on that, but
No, and I don't think you're going to. Our finance director is resigning. She'll be leaving on March 3rd, so I don't think we're going to be pursuing that any further.
she was the one that wanted it, or us?
It was a combination of her and some people in the building department.
Some people in the building department?
Yes, because everything,
Everything, the people who are familiar with BS&A are big
Are big
proponents
proponents of,
of BS&A. And they're sort of the BS&A team versus the ADP team.
because everything would fold into, when you're doing your payroll, everything's is done. You don't have to wait for the outside ADP to send you information and then you integrate it. It's automatically integrated.
So how does that benefit the building department?
Well, just in general.
Because they're very familiar in working with ADP, with BS&A, and they've come to really enjoy working with it, and they know that BS&A has a payroll component, and so they were saying, hey, if we went with BS&A on the payroll component, it would save us a lot of money because we give ADP something like 15 grand a year for the privilege of operating that system, and then BS&A is substantially less.
Yeah, and it would be integrated, so everything would flow.
Right.
At the end of the
But
day.
the
but I'm
BS&A
sure-
module costs about 70 grand to integrate.
And I'm
But
not sure what would actually be integrated because we're not doing any time billing. If you were
Yeah.
doing time billing,
Yeah,
that would be different than it would
you mean by
be
project?
By project.
Project.
You know.
Yeah,
you were
I mean,
charging for
I just don't think
services.
it's gonna be pursued.
yes, I don't think it's
Okay.
gonna.
So the two largest advocates are leaving the township, is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
Pretty
so-
much, yeah.
So let's
Okay.
move on from that one.
Okay, any other questions, comments? So this is a very helpful tool, and I appreciate everybody participating.
Thanks, Bob, for
I see Bob has them ranked by our secret code letters, which I've finally deciphered, so,
Well, those are the last names of board members.
I thought B was for Bob, but, I think I know who that is now,
So Buckley, Kermy, Dorchevitz,
Heisey, Monahan, Stewart, and V for Vorva.
victory.
For victory, and Vorva. So that's helpful. I think that's a very helpful tool.
Let's see, Vorva, you've got a 5 by the pickleball court.
Oh, yeah, he's a huge pickleball fan.
There you go.
Pickleboard.
Well, you see, I've got people at my church that pound me every Sunday for, where's my pickleball court?
Well, in that vein, we could just take a measuring tape and some paint and try it out at the big parking lot, the landing strip,
The landing strip, I'm all for that.
so we could paint them on, I'm serious,
The
we could
true
do this.
pickleballers will not go for that. It
Well,
has to
because
be an
it-
outdoor
it has to be-
pickleball regulation quality court.
No, they said that some people have said, the people who play at Our Lady of Good Counsel, they're interested in trying stuff outdoors. Because they're using,
Please, so we can get our court back.
you mean the basketball
You need the
court?
basketball court.
Yeah, 9 till, I'm like, now
Yeah.
they've taken over the church.
Is that what they're doing?
Pickleball people.
Pickleball people.
yeah.
They're everywhere.
Booked every morning.
There's this, I couldn't believe it, they're just professional pickleball players.
I saw it on TV.
Yes!
Oh, no, they have a league, they have leagues now,
Yeah.
like the NFL.
They're traveling people that travel around and play, like the Harlem Globetrotters, everything, they're just all over the
But
place.
just imagine if we had like a huge track, and inside that track, we could have all these pickleball
Yeah.
courts.
A
All those
track.
athletic
Imagine if
facilities.
that were to happen.
I want their life.
Horses running around the outside of the.
Horses and pickleball.
Yeah,
But you can't bet on the pickleball teams.
No, you can't bet on
That would be a
pickleball.
Pete Rose type
I'm just
situation.
amazed.
Oh, by the way,
All right.
have we received the quotes for the smart meter system that we put out in December?
We have received the proposals, yes. We have, how many are there?
The
There's
smart meters.
5?
1, 2,
4 or
3,
5,
4.
yeah.
And they're pretty thick. They're like this thick. So we have a group of, I think, 6 people that are
Reviewing
reading
it,
through them.
Yes.
It's very extensive.
Yeah, it takes a lot to read through them. So we're gonna meet again in March and review 2 of them, and then meet again probably 3 weeks after that and review the other 2.
Who are the 6 people?
Felrath, Milo, Kelly Ladowick, Heyman. Are you part of that?
I am part of that.
So,
Jenks,
Who?
Jenks,
Jenks is part of that?
Yeah,
So he's
from
the,
the IT
so he
side.
would be the 6th.
yeah.
Any finance people on there?
Bob,
there-
Petrashevitz.
George Evans,
You're the treasurer.
Yeah.
he's a treasurer. He can count.
I
I
can
saw him
count
do
to
it.
10
He's good with
backwards,
numbers.
too.
You can count.
I saw him do it today.
Oh,
All right, are we ready to move on?
We need
Yes.
a motion to receive and file the goals list. Is there a motion to receive and file?
I move that we receive and file.
Motion by Jerry Vorva, is there a second? Second by trustee Monahan.
All in favor.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay. Annual Treasurer's Report.
Okay, so it is recommended that the treasurer do this on an annual basis. That's why it's called an annual report. We obviously didn't have one last year. I think, next year I'll wait until after the winter taxes so the data's fresher, but, we wanted to get this done.
We've never had one in the 30 years I've been on the board.
that's
Well,
unfortunate.
times
30
have
years, so you're
changed.
first. Thank you for doing it.
You're
The
welcome.
fact that he's been on the board for 30 years, Audrey? or-
No, that we have, oh, don't rope me in this time. No,
Gotcha.
I'm just glad we have a report to look at.
So this data's current through
Waking me
February
up.
3rd. I updated it a little bit after that, but, obviously we have the payments. So our slogan is adding taxpayer value $1 at a time.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh,
Nice.
But here's the agenda. A little bit of background because there are, several, we've never done this before. And there's several new people, so I added some kind of background information, starting with what are the services that we do? What does the treasurer's office do? Somebody in the upper right-hand corner snapped a picture of me on the way out of the office one
With the
day.
money bay.
When he's on his way to Acapulco or something.
Are you sharing?
So,
sharing.
one thing over on the left-hand side, we have a small staff. We have 3 full-time people and 1 part-time. And I want to really give a shout out to this team because, for the last 35 years, I've held leadership positions from small groups to large, and I've never had a group that I enjoyed working with this much. They're just fantastic, do their jobs, I'm really, I enjoy coming to work with this group of people. these three. So I'm really, really, really grateful for them. So these are some of the things we do. We process the payments, mail the tax bills, run the check. So there's a lot of, it's wash, rinse, repeat. There's a lot of a regular cadence to these things, the regulatory files, managing the banks, doing the deposits, all of that kind of stuff. What the fundamental responsibility of a treasurer in a township is to, collect the taxes and then disperse those to the various taxing authorities. So what happens is that twice a month, from the period, the 1st of the 5th through the 15th, then the 16th through the 31st, you collect taxes, and within 10 calendar days, I have to calculate who gets what, and then that money is wired to the various taxing authorities based on what we collected during that previous period. So Wayne County collects the stuff for the parks, the jail, the drains, the DIA, the zoo, the state education tax, and the RESA. The Plymouth Township, the general government, delinquent water, SADs, admin fees, and the DDA. Then the MITC Brownfield gets a disbursement. The library gets money. PCCS gets money.
On that one, the operating, does that get sent to the school district or to the state of Michigan, the
School
6
district.
mills?
School district.
Yeah,
The 6 mills?
Yeah, to the school district.
Okay, so it doesn't go to the state and then they redistribute it in the form of,
The 18 goes to the school, or to the state.
Just 8.
I'm talking about the 6.
Goes local.
So would that include
Really?
like their sinking funds and other
SET.
bonds?
So the school operating, let me go ahead a little bit.
I thought
Well,
the state,
No,
We
that's
collected
part
it.
of it.
We can wait, we can wait. I mean,
Yeah.
stick to your presentation.
Yeah, so there's two, the school operating and the school debt goes to PCCS. The SET, the state education tax goes to Wayne County and they send it on to the state. So we don't send anything directly to the state of Michigan.
Wayne County's a middleman for
Yes,
state, wow.
yeah.
I'm sure they take a cut, huh?
They get a fee for,
That's what I like.
They get their own admin.
They get a fee for every parcel?
but we don't pay the state directly for that. It goes through the county.
So inefficient.
So we, do the SAD accounting and billing, delinquent water assessments, the monthly cash report, which is what I send out, the spreadsheet in the budget. I try to get that out by the 8th or 9th every month. And then pursuing delinquent personal property taxes, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But we process all the payments on the day that they're received. So the electronic payments come in overnight. We process those first thing in the morning. We collect the drop box and then we process the mail. So if stuff's put in the drop box after 10 a.m. or something, it won't get processed till the next day. But anything that's there in the morning and anything that comes in the mail that day and anything that comes in overnight electronically, we don't end a day without processing everything that we took in that day.
That means you go to the bank once a day?
Yes. And
So-
I'm not going to say what time.
Go back to the delinquent water bills,
Don't name the bank.
delinquent water bill assessments.
Yeah,
If a $1,000 water bill is put on the tax roll as delinquent, the 35% charge, when it comes time to paying that tax, does that person have to pay that in full, or are they considered delinquent on their property taxes and turned over to Wayne County?
yes, they have to pay it in full or it's considered delinquent and it's turned over to Wayne County.
So they can't get away for more than a year, 6 months or a year.
Correct.
Okay, that's expensive money at 35% loan.
Well, it is.
But it doesn't deter people.
Well, it does, because what happens is that if you don't pay your water bill in February and you don't pay it all year, it doesn't go on the tax bill until we do the calculation the last week in October. So a lot of people come in at the beginning of October and middle of October and catch up on it because they know it's going to go on the tax bill. So there are people that, they do that every year and they let it slide because it's only 5%, one time 5%. It's not
compounded.
compound.
Okay.
So if you didn't pay it in February, you'd get hit with a 5% late charge, but you wouldn't get hit with another charge until the 35% came out in October, right?
But you would get charged 5% for the next bill.
No, it's not compounded, it's.
Well, no, but I'm talking about, okay, so I had a $200 bill, I paid 5% on that, and then 3 months later, I got a $300 bill, I gotta pay 5% on that $300.
Not on the.
On the new $300.
On the new amount.
Yeah,
On the new
so,
amount.
that's what I mean, so that it's on each amount one time.
Correct.
All right.
And that was one of the things when we talked about goals, which I said, I think we should probably revisit that because you could have $1,000 bill in January and not pay it until September and your charge is $50. And that just doesn't seem like it's enough incentive.
Is that a township policy or is that state
Township
law?
policy.
Okay.
So
So we
you
can
might wanna
set-
make it,
We can set those interest rates? We can
Yes.
set those rates?
yeah,
Yeah.
but can you make it so that it will be, for the future, an automatic, like, prime plus X or something like that? Is that what you wanna do, so we don't have to vote it each time?
Well, I haven't really studied the options yet. I threw it out there on the table to see what the board felt about it, and if it is something that the board is willing to entertain, then I'll do the work on it, and I'll do some analysis.
But do we have struggling families right now?
Yeah, that's a different story. If people are struggling, there are things that, there are programs that they can apply for, and we have a flyer on right on the counter.
Well, Plymouth Township doesn't turn off domestic water.
We don't turn off water,
Other places do.
yeah. But let's see, what other thing? There's a lot of bank accounts, that was done for historical reason. You have to have separate bank accounts, for different types of funds, like proprietary funds, and the taxes, for example, must go in their own bank account. You can't commingle them. But there's a lot of bank accounts associated with funds, and that was done over the years, and I'm kind of taking another look at that. You want to spread it around. You're only insured up to $250,000, and that's cumulative for all the accounts you have in the bank. So you want to spread it around. The next slide talks about payments and collections. There's about 74 different categories of things that we might record, but these are the common ones: taxes, water bills, special assessments, permits, passport fees, dog licenses, and senior transportation fees. And then there's some other things like police reports and so on. You can pay in person, you can pay by mail, you can pay by Dropbox, you can pay online. The online payments are, if you pay by electronic check, it's a $3 charge. That's charged by the payment vendor. If you pay by credit or debit card, it's a 3% fee. And that's the handling company. The township, by law, cannot collect any money for that, so we would not be able to layer a fee on if we wanted to do that.
The check fee is also going to the service company?
For the service company, that's how they make their money. If a tax bill doesn't arrive, it doesn't, if somebody says, I didn't get my bill, that doesn't relieve them of their obligation to pay the bill. And there's so many different ways to pay it, so, you could drop it in that box anytime, and all you have to do is write your name on it. We'll figure out who you are. Summer 2022, we had 98.8% of parcels paid, totaling 99.1% of taxes, which is very consistent with past years. I went back and I looked at 2021, 20, and 19, and it's like a run rate. So as of this date, this has dropped a little bit, a few of them have paid, but we had 105 parcels of real property out of 11,400 that had not paid, and 60 parcels of personal property that had not paid. So we we do well. I did something this time that was different, which I looked for things that kind of jumped out that you would wonder why wasn't that paid. And I had one example. In September, Adient had $350,000 that was outstanding. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. So I called over there and made a courtesy call and just said, hey, you have, your summer taxes have not been paid. And they said, that's weird because we sent them in August, certified mail. And I tracked it down at the post office, and the post office had given their certified mail to another customer who signed for it, took it, and when he discovered the $350,000 check wasn't his, didn't return it.
Excellent. Oh, my.
I mean, the mailman delivers it to the wrong place.
The post office, because I go to the post office every day to pick up the mail, and I sign for any certified mail. And they gave it to the customer behind me, who signed for it, took it, and never brought it back. Never called anybody.
Wow, what a
Probably hasn't
What a
seen a
jerk.
check that
yeah,
long.
what a jerk, slime ball.
Has he found a way to negotiate? Has he changed his name legally now to Cheddar Township of Plymouth? And
Yeah.
now living in the Bahamas, huh? Right?
So, what is interesting about this function, and the little graphic is, wash, rinse, repeat, because there's a regular cadence, and these are the kind of major things that go on, year after year. I'm not going to go through them all, but this is what we have. You could see what they are, and it's a cadence. You create the tax, you assess, you create the tax bills, you bill, you collect, you disperse, and you file the regulatory
So what is
forms.
DBOR processing?
December Board of Review,
December, yeah.
and JBOR is July Board of
Got it.
Review. And then there's some regulatory documentation that needs to be filed. If you like numbers, you'd love this. If you don't like numbers, you'd hate it.
What page are you on? Oh,
Let me go into some of the payment stats. So some of these questions were asked. In the box in the upper left-hand corner, summer taxes, winter taxes, utility bills, and permits. I selected these four because these are the four biggest activities. And in that period, you can see that people still like to write checks and pay cash. So they're using the credit cards and the ECH, but they're not using it extensively. Let me back up from that statement. What you'll notice in this chart is utility bills are more frequently paid by credit card, because a 3% bill of a 3% fee on a $200 bill is $6, but on a $2,000 tax bill would be $60. So they don't use it. So they are using the credit cards for utility bills, and they're also using ACH. So what happens with that is that you, on the due date, will take the money out of your bank account automatically, and we try to encourage people to do that because it works really well.
what are you doing to try to get that number up?
We have a flyer on the desk, and when people come in and pay their bills, in the conversation, you usually will say, hey, by the way, if you want to pay them electronically, and people will take the form, and some return it. And
We put it in the newsletter?
I think that would be helpful.
Sure, we can do that.
It's a convenient way to pay. People don't forget, and you don't take it out. We take it out on the due date, so you don't have to write a check and mail it and things like that.
So that should alleviate some concerns that people have that go away for long periods of time.
Yeah. Yeah, they get that water bill paid, and they'll still get a bill,
Yeah.
but the bill says, do not
Do not
pay,
pay.
or whatever. So, we get a lot of, we handle a lot of cash and checks, we process a lot of checks. What else okay, payments by type, it's just a graph, so in the lower left-hand corner, you can see with taxes, it's just overwhelmingly still paid by cash and checks. But again, in the upper right-hand corner, you see a little bit of, see a little more activity, relatively speaking. And then by percentage in the lower right-hand corner, so that hopefully those charts were helpful. Okay, these are tax collections. So we had 13,821 tax payments. And the reason that there's less tax payments than the number of parcels, if you added up summer and winter, is that we get a large number that are paid by mortgage companies
Right.
through escrows. So we'll get, one check that is covering 1,000 houses or something like that from the mortgage clearinghouse. The one that was my personal favorite was there was a check written to me personally, and I said, yeah.
I like it.
And then my staff told me I wasn't allowed to keep it. But yeah, somebody actually wrote the check to me. There were 304 delinquent water bills that totaled 284,861. Again, those get transferred to the taxes, so you can't not pay them. I think, Chuck, you had asked me the question, how many people pay in that 2-week period after the due date? And there were 251. So about $1.8 million came in the second 2 weeks in September after the due date.
So they pay the 1%.
They paid the 1%. For those that didn't pay by today, they'll get a 3% charge effective tomorrow. And there were, as of about 3:30 today, there were about 500 that were still outstanding. I was in that neighborhood. The next chart over on the right-hand side tells you for every $100 in residential taxes, this is just residential, and we're going to put this in a publication. Where's the money go? So 47% of that is K-12 education. 23% of that is Wayne County for general government, jail. Township Police and Fire is 13%. Schoolcraft College is another 7%. Plymouth Library is another 4%. Township General is another 2.5%, and then it tailors down from there. But, this is where the money goes. So when, I think one of the things that people don't realize is that half of the taxes that you pay are going for K-12 education. And if you add in Schoolcraft College, 54% of taxes that we pay go towards education. The township only gets, $16 out of 16% of those taxes. So add up your taxes, multiply it by 0.16, and that's what you're paying the township. So we run pretty lean. And then, so that I kind of did that one. The next section I wanted to cover was on savings and investments. So what happens is that we have, the board has to authorize depositories, and I'm going to refresh that. So there's, of course, there's statutes that govern what kinds of things you can put your money into and what kinds of investments you can have. But currently we use three banks, Flagstar, Bank of Ann Arbor, and Comerica. All of the water payments go into Comerica. Bank of Ann Arbor is our daily transactions, and Flagstar has some of our other accounts. So when I send out that monthly report, you'll see Flagstar, Bank of Ann Arbor, and Comerica. And then there's one other thing that you see on there as of a few months ago that I'll explain in a minute. We have investments in MERS. And then state law authorizes that we can create an investment policy, and I'm gonna come back to the board and refresh the investment policy, but traditionally, or, you know, as a board, I think, I don't wanna speak for you guys, but how we've always approached this was that any investments we made would be principal protected, so we're not gonna gamble with public money.
Not gonna pull an Orange County?
We're not gonna pull in Orange County. But there's a body of different types of things that are authorized under state law, like you can invest in commercial paper if you want, which, you know, can be really risky. And we'll come back and we'll talk about that at a later meeting, but there's something called the Michigan Cooperative Liquid Asset Security System, MI-CLASS, and it's a cooperative that, I forget the number, but like the treasurer in Canton Township is on the board, and it's principal protected. You can take out your cash anytime you want, and it pays daily interest. And it's right now it's paying over 4% or something. So
It's like a big money market.
it's like a big money
Exactly.
market, and you
Except
can
you can
move the
take it
money
out.
from Bank of Ann Arbor into MI-CLASS back and forth electronically. You don't have to wire it. You can just move it electronically, and so it's like a money market is a good analogy. It did pretty well. I moved some money into that. It shows up on the reports. And in the right-hand side, you know, what had happened after Mark left was, you know, the money was kind of just sitting in accounts because when he was managing it well, but it was not, you know, interest rates were 1% or something. And as they started to rise, you know, when I came in June, I moved some money over in Comerica into a different account that was an interest-bearing. And you could see what happened to our interest in 1 month. It skyrocketed. So, I mean, I'm not claiming that I'm a genius because it's luck of the market too, but we're doing well. In January, we earned $80,000 in interest, which is as much as we earned in the first 7 months of last year.
So that can go into the general fund.
Goes into the general fund.
And you're allowed to keep the interest on other taxing authorities' money?
No.
No.
Interest follows principal. So what happens is that there's two things. When somebody is paying interest on a late overdue tax payment, or paying the 3% of the 1%, that is distributed to the taxing authorities. So everyone gets their share. Wayne County gets their share of the interest in the schools and so on. The money that is sitting in the tax account, which is a dedicated account, for the period of time that it's sitting there until it's dispersed, is earning some interest, and it is supposed to be distributed to the taxing authorities. You can make an agreement with the taxing authorities that says, hey, for your trouble, you can keep it because it's not that much money. But that's kind of like, that's the next thing I'm going to work on. Because I just got my arms around that. So for this period, I'll disperse it, but I'll work on, I don't think there's ever been a formal agreement, and under state law, there's supposed to be a formal agreement that says.
With each taxing authority
For the
about how to
taxing.
handle interest during the 10-day period before you turn it over.
Right, it's nominal because it's only earning 1%, because it's a custodial account. Okay, so I'm getting into the weeds. I wanted to spend a few minutes and talk about personal property, because this one's a little tough to wrap your head around. And I never really had a good understanding of it, but basically what happens with personal property is now there's an exemption up to 180K. So you own a restaurant and you have you know, a stove and refrigerator, and you have kitchen equipment. You have to file an exemption in order to be exempt from the personal property tax on that equipment. And you can be exempt for up to 180K of personal property. If you don't, you're liable for that. And you can't use the, hey, I didn't know excuse later. So what happens is that if personal property is not paid, that does not get turned over to the county. That's the responsibility of the local municipality to
Right.
collect on.
And we get to keep all of it.
No,
No?
no, it has to be distributed. It gets dispersed the share gets dispersed to the county, and the county then takes care of it from the next step forward. But what happens is a lot of it is so small. It's $50, right? Am I going to go pound on somebody's door for $50? When our share of it is $5 or something. So treasurers have a statutory duty to exercise due diligence in attempting to collect the personal property tax. So it's my duty to go and collect that, right? The way that you do that is you have to make the demand for them to pay it, and then if they don't, you can seize property. You show up and you seize property, right? You show up and you take you take enough equipment that you can auction off and sell it.
Well, who would physically do that, though?
Bob would do it.
Bob does it along with Chief Nightel.
I mean, realistically, I mean, this doesn't happen. I mean,
It does.
It does in some places.
It happens in
Doesn't
only
happen here.
really extreme circumstances, and but you have to do something, right? You can't just say, I'm not going to try to collect it. So, because there are 2 in the township right now that are serious, 2.
Seriously delinquent?
Yeah, they're a large amount of money.
Can
So
we padlock a building?
you padlock the building, you put a notice on the building, you say,
Hey, or else.
yeah, these are people that appear to have, in one case, and I'm not going to name the company publicly, they had an agreement with Mark to pay it, and then they blew him off. And I got emails and everything else. Yeah, we're going to pay it. We're going to pay it. We're going to pay it. And they never paid it off, right? So he was diligent about it. I've got all the records. So what happens is you can go, and the point I'm getting to with this, I'm getting a little long-winded on this one, is that I've started digging into this, and I've identified a few things that I think are worth going after. On this chart, you can see you can collect up to 5 years, and then after 5 years, you petition the district court to write it off, essentially.
Right.
So I have one. And a lot of them that have less than $500. When I go and research them, the company's out of business. Maybe it was a hair salon or something that went down during COVID, that kind of thing. So we're going to have to write them off. But I have to go to district court and petition the court to give me permission to write them off, and then I can do that.
Can you use the district court for small claims?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the other thing, is,
Could we get I'm not saying we would use Kevin Bennett, but could we get a lawyer to do all this for us and
we could.
give him a cut?
Have you ever done this, Kevin?
Or her.
Lawyers
Him or
can't
her,
use
yeah.
small claims for.
Right.
Well, in small claims, yeah, you couldn't do that, but have you ever done the write-off in district court?
I have not.
Okay, yeah.
I wouldn't even know if the district court judges would even know what to do.
There's companies that
Came in
I
front of
think
them.
for
Companies or law firms that would do
a
it.
fee,
Yeah.
they could help.
Yeah, so this is one of my projects that I've been, I was waiting until after tax season, and so when I have a little bit of time in the next couple of months, I'm gonna really dig heavy into this project, because I want to get it cleaned up.
Well, $800,000 is a lot of money.
It is a lot
That's
of
the
money.
equivalent of 1 year's administration fee.
No, that 800 doesn't go to us, maybe 13%.
Oh, that's right,
Only a
okay.
portion
But
of
it's
it.
100
Yeah.
grand. I mean, if it takes me, a couple weeks worth of work and we can get 25
That's almost a
grand.
fireman or a policeman, 100 grand.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth it. It's worth pursuing. And again, I have a statutory duty to pursue it anyway, so I can't just say it's not worth it.
May I please make a couple comments?
Yeah, sure.
38 years as self-employed, and as a state legislator, I filed legislation to completely repeal the personal property tax. Are you putting on record that we have delinquent $818,953?
At the time I created this slide, since in the last couple of days, it's probably in the 700s now, because these companies.
There is no more disliked tax among businessmen and women than the personal property tax.
That's why
And
I
it's so-
voted against it and we repealed it.
I'm not disagreeing with that, John, but I don't.
I'm just
I
saying,
don't-
and it's so variable.
I know, but
Because-
I don't get to pick and choose which laws I'm gonna
Right,
follow.
I'm not asking you to.
Yeah,
But I'm saying, here's my desk, come and get it. My law office is pretty plain and simple,
but you have an exemption, right?
yes. But, the variance in the value of personal property and machinery I'm commending you if you want to pursue this, but you lightheartedly said you might want to take the chief of police with you.
No, I was serious.
And
Wasn't
you
kidding.
also, and Counselor Bennett, who I have the highest respect for, is not acquainted with this ever having been done. So you're treading into some really tough territory.
Yeah, and I get that. It hasn't been done here, but it's commonly done around the state.
Yeah, outstate, it's done a lot in small townships, a lot. The treasurer goes up to the front door.
I'll tell you a story.
Gets shot.
Back, the Dairy King, before it was built the way it was right now, was a good buddy of mine, and he was rebuilding it. So he took all of the machinery and put it in my garage. And then the treasurer came by. after he
Statute of
was-
limitations has expired. on
No,
this.
yes.
Do I want to know this?
No, what I'm getting to the story is the treasurer went to the guy and says, hey, I know you were building, where was your equipment? He says, well, it was in Vorba's garage. He says, that's still in the city, so give me the money.
Yeah.
So they do go after it.
Ba-dum-bum.
Well, Bob, this is something to think about is,
God bless you.
if you don't make an attempt, I don't know the right words to use it, it's almost like the broken glass concept, where small things, if people know they can get away with things, then they try other things. It's not good. Remember when Michigan Bell would collect,
Yeah.
they would spend more money to collect from people who are committing fraud for long distance or phone service, just on the principle to ensure that people knew that somebody was watching.
Yeah, and I think that's the point, and just to kind of wrap up on this, I want to get it cleaned up one way or the
So
other.
let's just back up to the personal property thing. I don't want to bemoan this, but
Sorry.
why can't you statutorily, let's say I am a small tool and die shop and I owe you $25,000 and I'm never going to pay it. I don't want to pay you. Can't you at some point after proper notice and everything like that, can't you put a lien on the property tax?
On the real estate?
Yeah.
No, not on the real estate.
Well, no, but can't you put a lien on the property? You attach that $25,000
Yes.
to your taxes.
You can do that, you can put a lien on the personal property. If you suspect that somebody may be pulling a Vorva or
Moving the assets
or
around.
they're about to go out of business, you can do what's called a jeopardy assessment. And you slap that on them, and then they can't, you've perfected your lien for bankruptcy court. I think if I use the terminology right.
So do you obtain a judgment first, or it's just an issue of the lien and filing it with the
You
county?
file it with the county.
Okay.
But if you went to small claims and obtained a judgment, even if they didn't pay it,
Yeah.
Oftentimes, those businesses, when they seek a loan or a mortgage,
Yeah.
that mortgage company will notice this and not loan until they clean it up.
Right, and if you go to, if I go to, I have no problem going to
And they're
small
renewable
claims.
every
I
10
just got-
years.
I'm sorry?
The judgments are renewable every 10
Small
years.
claims?
And I have no
Any
problem
judgment.
personally
Yeah.
going to small
Yeah.
claims. I gotta get on my doc, because, the judge is gonna say, check the box. Did you do this? You do this, you do this first.
But you're a licensed attorney, though, you can't.
I could go
He
to
could go
small
in
claims.
his official
In
capacity as a
official
treasurer.
capacity, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not as an attorney representing the township, but he can
I'm
certainly
As a
do it.
treasurer.
I'm
Right.
here as a
Exactly.
treasurer.
Okay.
You just happen to have the knowledge. You got it both.
Got it both.
Yeah.
Well, he's got
But
it.
most personal property tax has been eliminated for manufacturing related.
It's
And I
being
don't
phased
wanna,
out.
I don't wanna start making enemies out of the businesses, that's not the point. The point is that the people that clearly knew they needed to pay and clearly said, I'm not paying, what are you gonna do about it, are the ones that I think we as a board should
Deal with.
deal
Got to
with.
send a message that we have a tight ship.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think
By the
it's an
rules, yeah.
ethical issue, I mean, there's an ethical responsibility that we have to make sure that the rules are being followed.
And you got two restaurants and one one follows the rules and the other one doesn't.
So he's at a competitive disadvantage if he
Yeah.
pays.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so looking ahead to 2023, one of the things that I'm, starting to, is improving this process documentation, because there's a lot of tribal knowledge in the group. People know how to do things, but it's not necessarily well documented. We talked about the water bills. I'd like to, broaden the investment portfolio a little bit and see where, we might take that. I'm getting through tax season, but kind of expanding and shifting some of the depositories and, taking another look at that. And then as we talked about the personal property tax collections. So that's kind of my goals for '23 for the team that are kind of above and beyond the cadence. And shout out to John and Beth, because they come in and pay their taxes on the first day.
He's a financial genius. Pay early.
So any other?
Also, Bob, everyone needs to know that when you're talking about wiring money, you just don't wire it and it's done. There's a check and balance.
Yeah, I'll explain. So we have a check and balance. Thanks for that, Jerry. So I can only wire to places that we have pre-authorized to wire to. So I can't wire to, to
Jamaica.
An entity that we don't already have an arrangement with, right? And then what we do is we do that for payroll and for checks and for the tax disbursements is at, weekly, we have a good check and balance between the treasurer's office and the clerk's office. And when we wire it, when I wire money, I have to inform Jerry exactly how much it is, and the bank contacts him and gets the authorization to complete the wire.
You give him a voucher of some kind? Or it's verbal?
It's a text.
It's on a text, and we keep the text message.
Thank you for your intellectually honest and moral report. Would you kindly please put on record that you are bonded?
I am bonded. I have two bonds, one for tax collection and one for general purpose.
I had asked you that before, but I would
Yeah.
put it on record.
I have two
Bob?
bonds.
Requirement of state law.
You may be able to glean some ideas if the MTA still has their treasurer's school as part of the conference.
MMTA,
They used to have a treasurer's
yeah.
school.
MMTA, which is all the treasurers, cities and townships, has a training program. I think I'm gonna go to the class in the.
Now, somebody there may have an idea that you could use.
Yeah, I'm making those connections and kind of getting past, I've gone through a full year cycle now, or just about, so
I was gonna say, it's been that long?
Not
almost,
quite.
May will be a year,
Wow.
yeah. Okay, well, thank you for your
Alrighty,
attention.
well,
and
thank you very much, Bob. That's very good.
Hopefully that was helpful.
Okay, we're gonna move on to public comment. There's only two people in the public here. Okay, we're gonna move to board comments. I'm gonna shake things up here and Won't put Jennifer always on the hot seat first up, so I'm gonna start with Bob. Is there anything else going on?
No,
Tax collections are moving along real nice?
yeah, we're doing fine.
Okay. Jerry?
Just that we had an audit of our election process here last week. This was we're randomly picked by the state, and the county comes in and performs that. And I just want to report to the public that we balanced perfectly for the precincts that they checked both absentee and poll voting, and we balanced perfectly, and want to thank my staff for doing such a wonderful job that they've done historically. And of course, want to thank the county also for the work they do in supporting the clerks of the county.
Okay. Audrey?
Just want to say thank you to everyone who gave their condolences for my aunt who passed away last week, my godmother. Kind of a tough time for our family, and I echo the sentiment that Mr. Heisey has stated about Michigan State. It was hard. We saw each other's Facebook posts, but I have two nieces, two nephews, a few other friends that are up there, and yeah, I didn't get much sleep last night, but Kurt's right. Prayers work. Please continue the prayers, because for the people that I know, they're traumatized by it. And we think, oh, you just go from one incident to the next. It's just not how it works. At age 18, nobody should see that. So we have to pray for peace in this world and pray for the people that are the victims as well as their families. Thank you.
Amen. Okay, Jennifer?
Yeah, I would just reiterate what you're saying about Michigan State. I have a daughter there as well as a nephew, and they are pretty, shaken up. But I wanted to reiterate for those that are watching that one of the things I emphasize with my daughter is the importance of public safety and how quick they are our heroes in those times. But we need to keep that that sentiment, throughout the year, as well as doing our due diligence and being, neighborhood watch and in schools and everywhere you go. As the wife of a police officer and a veteran myself, I like to emphasize that we need to pay special attention to what's going on, having situational awareness at all times. Like when Audrey and I were out in the parking lot, we sent someone coming and we quick made a dash. It's those things like that get the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. If more people would do that, more people would be looking around and paying attention. As sad as it is, unfortunately, we may be able to prevent these things. Maybe that guy wouldn't have, maybe he would have been caught a little bit more sooner. I just think people are walking around in, like zombies, or just kind of naive to the situation. So just want to reemphasize that, because we need to help our police officers as much as we can. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. John Stewart?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This morning I called the supervisor and I had asked about a special moment. I didn't know that just before this meeting, and it's incredibly ironical during Black History Month, and you may take my words down verbatim, Denisha, longtime president, 2001 to 2020, of Schoolcraft College, President Conway Jeffress, passed away.
Oh, no.
When he came to Lansing to testify before the committee that I chaired, Higher Education, it was just so honorable, because when they do ratings of academic credibility of all community colleges across Michigan, Schoolcraft always ranks in the top 3 or 5. And all their credits are accepted by the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. My statement is this: all across Michigan, we have been seriously impacted by the unfathomable shooting on Michigan State's campus. Tragically, 3 precious MSU students have lost their lives, 5 are in critical condition, and Sparrow Hospital in Lansing. For 6 years as state representative, I was appointed to the Higher Education Committee, served with then State Representative Whitmer on that committee for 6 years. Repeatedly, I told students this was going to be some of the very best years of their lives. I have likewise informed the chief and the treasurer, who have daughters who are in the freshman class at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, Bob's daughter, and Grand Valley, our chief of police daughter. I've repeatedly said these are some of the best years of your life. A vast majority of citizens in Plymouth Township have a connection to Michigan State, which enroll over 80% of all of their students come from the state of Michigan. I leave you with one thought. I encourage you to pray, have conversation, and to be resolved to do better for the safety of our children.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Kermy, I still saved you for last.
Oh, great. Will you have somebody send out an email when the assessment notices are mailed, when they're mailed? Should be imminent.
I think it's March 1st, isn't it?
Oh, I think
Yeah,
they're,
no, I thought they were gonna be
they're gonna
mailed
hit,
out
I
at the end
think,
of February.
I think they're gonna hit like the end of February,
Let's have
beginning of
somebody
March.
send it out to me when
Yeah,
they, when they mail it.
I mean, it's just difficult with the post office to.
No, when
you
they
know.
mail them. You don't
Yeah.
have to worry about the post office.
Okay.
That's a wild card.
Okay. All set? Okay, Police Chief Nytel, I would like you to formally brief the board on the school resource officer position that we recently filled.
Yes, sir. We have, through a process, and we involved in that process, Josh Meyer, who's the Director of Security for our school district, in the selection process, and that board, and I approved the selection, selected Officer Joe Smitherman to be our school resource officer. Officer Smitherman is a 9-year veteran of our police department. Previous to this, he worked in the state of Alaska, and during that time, he was a school resource officer. Joe is not only one of our most productive officers as far as being out on the street and writing tickets and making arrests, but he is one of our top community police officers. He gets along with anybody. He loves children. He loves to be in the schools. So I'm very confident that he's going to do an absolutely outstanding job at that position. So we have some training that he has, several weeks, and we're in a rotation right now. So I'm hoping within the next month to move him into that position. During the summer, he'll have some ancillary duties outside of the schools, which will include a project that we're working on with our houses of worship in the township, as well as he'll be assisting in investigations, also with some fraud, which is some programs that we've already rolled out with Tom Champagne, our Homeland Security Investigative Task Force officer. So he'll have duties on top of that during the summertime, and then he'll be ready to roll into September, school district, fully trained and ready to go.
Cool.
Wonderful, thank you.
Well, very good, and we've already accomplished our top goal for the year, which was
All right,
hiring the
cross it
school
off.
resource officer, so we're on a roll already. I did make mention earlier that Ginger Moriarty, our finance director, is moving on to another job in another community. So we are advertising for a finance director. We'll start putting that into the social domain probably starting tomorrow. Also, just looking ahead to future meetings, please keep February 28th open. That is our next regularly scheduled meeting. Right now, it's very dependent on what happens tomorrow night at the Planning Commission meeting. I understand there's some horse racing applicant coming before us.
Are you saying February 28th?
February 28th.
The board is going to be asked to approve the PUD?
It possibly, yeah. I mean, I think we should have we have to have a discussion with the track operators as well. So that February 28th meeting right now is very fluid. It just
That seems
depends
pretty
on what
quick.
happens. Well, we're moving things along. March 7th, March 7th on your calendars, you should have that reserved for a study session. Just bear in mind that may end up being a special meeting. And again, that depends on what happens tomorrow night. Otherwise, it's just too far to project what's going to happen else in the month of March. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Otherwise, everything is moving along real well. Jeremy, you also got I haven't forgotten about you, Jeremy. So you did receive the bids now for the Powell Road project and the driveway going up into the park? You want to turn your mic on?
Yeah, we did. We got 6 different bids out there and they were all relatively tight to each other. I think the top 2 bids were $2,000 apart.
So what is Powell Road project?
That's the golf course entrance. So right,
Paving the entire road
Yeah.
from Beck Road?
yeah.
Oh, we really need to talk about that one. We're not authorized to spend the money yet. You know that.
No, we've talked about it.
We have not approved
Great
that
deal.
project.
Well,
That's a big expenditure.
yeah, it's part of our ARPA funding, and we've talked about it extensively.
No,
So
well,
this is off of Beck Road. This is not off of.
yeah, I know, off of
Okay.
Beck Road.
All right, yeah.
It seems like it'd be a better use of that money. It's
Well,
gonna be very expensive.
And it saves us a lot of money in the long run, because right now we're paying Wayne County $13,000 a year to grade it, and they don't do a good
So
job.
what is this, 500,000 or
No.
a million?
No,
No.
No, what is it? You said it's only 2,000 apart.
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think all in it was somewhere in the 500,000 range.
well, hold on, hold on, Jeremy, because you combined the Powell Road project with the total repaving of the
Right, so
driveway.
2 projects, so it's
Yeah.
basically half of that, about
Oh,
250,000.
probably less. I'm sure it's less
So
than
one,
that.
part of the project is paving the driveway to the top of the hill and the township park.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of deterioration going on there, some issues with the culverts, that takes care of all that. That's the bulk of the cost, and then the smaller cost is the Powell Road.
So we're going to be approving those at a future meeting. That's awarding the bid.
Yep.
So, okay, that's all I've got for now. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn
So moved.
by Mr. Stewart. Is there a second? Second by Clerk Vorba. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chief, can I tell?